Shalom and happy Passover, dear friends. I'm going to miss you this year, and we're going to send a little video. So I hope you enjoy the video here while we are dealing with this virus. It's important to know that God is going to be happy with us, despite any reality challenges. God knows exactly what's going on in the world. So if it's we're doing this to protect lives and prevent any spreading of any disease, it's for a good reason. So, but I do miss going to be celebrating Passover with you. So I'm sending a video instead. So hello everybody. Make believe I'm there with you in spirit, and happy Passover. Now, what's interesting is Passover is the holiday of freedom. And everybody in the world is stuck at home. So I want to say, if you look in the Bible, the very first Passover, everybody had to be home. They had to be in their house, and it was forbidden the night of Passover for people to leave their house. Right in the Bible. Why? Because there was a plague outside. So because there was a plague outside, God said, stay home. And the next morning, the Jews left Egypt. So maybe this year, and let's hope and pray, we'll all be home alone. We'll be stuck in our own quarters. The door closed. We'll be celebrating Passover. Think to yourself, what kind of freedom is this? And maybe the next morning, the Messiah will come. Now, when the Messiah comes, there'll be no more disease and no more sickness and no more war. The world will be a perfect place, only goodness. You see, when the world was first created, everything was good, perfectly good, in the Garden of Eden. And then they ate from the tree, and all negativity and bad things kicked in. So when the Mashiach comes, God takes the evil, he puts it back in his box, closes the box, and the rest, we live happily ever after. So let's hope and pray that this year will be the last year. Maybe even this year won't happen. Maybe I'm making this video, and the Mashiach will come before Passover. It can happen. Mashiach can come now. So this whole video is a waste. But maybe God wants me to make the video, and let's hope and pray that this year we'll celebrate Passover in Jerusalem. Everybody say, Amen. Now, because my voice is a little weak, every once in a while I'll take a little drink of water. L'chaim, to life, cheers. Help me give me more ability to talk. Now, this Seder, I consider a basic Seder. There are Seders that take all night and people spend hours. Beautiful. But there is foundations and basics that we need to do to make it a Seder. The first thing you need to make it a Seder is you need matzah. Enough matzah for everybody to eat at least 1 ounce. According to the side of the box, it says over here that 1 piece of matzah is about 1 ounce. So good to know. There's a mitzvah in the Torah on the night of Passover. This year it falls out on Wednesday, April 8th at night after it gets dark. Because before it gets dark, it's not Passover. Passover begins after it gets dark. After it gets dark, there's a mitzvah in the Torah to eat matzah. Why do we eat matzah? Is it because it tastes good? Not really, right? They say if you eat too much matzah, you'll have to do what Moses did. Moses, he ate too much matzah. You know what he said? He said, dear God, let my people go. Anyways, that was a joke. So we have over here a piece of matzah. Everybody has to eat a piece of matzah. Why do we eat matzah? One reason we eat matzah is because it reminds us of what the Jewish people ate when they were slaves in Egypt. The Jewish people were slaves in Egypt 210 years. And they barely were able to eat matzah. Matzah and water. Matzah and water. That's it. Pharaoh was a very mean master. He beat the Jews and enslaved them for 210 years, and they ate matzah. This is the bread of affliction that our ancestors ate when we were enslaved in Egypt. Number two, when the Jews were leaving Egypt, there was no time for the dough to rise. They left in haste. The Torah says they made matzah. The quickest food you can make if you're in a rush is matzah. To make matzah takes like 10 minutes. You mix flour and water, you stick it in a very hot oven, you go. Then it says the Jewish people left Egypt with their dough. Didn't even make matzah. It says they had dough on their backs. And the sun was so hot, it baked the dough. And it baked so quick before it even had a chance to rise. The deeper reason why we eat matzah is because matzah is called humble bread. Regular bread rises. Ego rises. You feel very good about yourself. You're full of hot air. Matzah doesn't rise. Unleavened. It represents the person who's humble. Humble means you recognize that you are only a human being. A human being is a messenger from God. And wherever God placed you, you have a mission to fulfill. We don't know what the mission is because we're not prophets. The IRS told me, you're a non-prophet. So we know that our purpose is to make the world a better place. We know our purpose is to help each other. We know our purpose is to serve God. And wherever God puts us, we could fulfill our purpose. And that takes humility. Humility to recognize that we are not in control. God's in control. But we have to remember and feel happy and proud to be God's messengers. Instead of feeling, oh, I wish I had a fancy house. I wish I had a car. You say, you know, God, I wish I'm able to fulfill your purpose. I wish I can do and make the world a better place the way you want it to be. Please, give me the insight, give me the inspiration, and tell me how to be a better servant of God. You see the picture in the back over here? This rabbi is my inspiration. This is the Lubavitch Rebbe, the Chabad Rebbe, and he sent rabbis all over the world. And this rabbi said to his rabbis, you shall never forget the people that are incarcerated. How many rabbis volunteer for prison inmates? He said the people that are in prison are also God's children, and they also have a purpose, and they also are fulfilling a purpose, and they also could be making the world a better place when they help each other in prison, when they're nice to each other, and they smile to each other, and they give each other comfort and strength. And by the way, this video that I'm making here is mainly for the people who are at the ACI. I might share it with some friends, but I want to thank the prison people who gave me the encouragement. Despite not being allowed to visit the prison, the people in prison still need a Seder. So I'm making the Seder here on the video. I'm going to send the video to the prison, and people can participate and celebrate Passover at the ACI. I don't know if I should call it a prison, Adult Correctional Institute, Department of Corrections, DOC. The bottom line is that we are God's children. We're all in the same ballpark together. Even rich people are right now afraid of this virus. We're the same. We're all vulnerable. Nobody should say, oh, I'm comfortable. I have a big bank account. I have a big business. Businesses are closed. People are afraid for their life. You know, you never know. My grandfather, my mother's father, he wouldn't work on Shabbos. He was in Russia. He wouldn't work on Shabbos, forbidden. It says in the Ten Commandments, thou shalt not work on Shabbos. So the Russians got mad at him and they put him in prison. And he was in prison. And because he was in prison, when the Nazis came to take all the Jews, he wasn't there. He was in prison. So my grandfather survived the Second World War. He survived the Holocaust because he was in prison. So he thanks the communists for putting him in prison. And after the war was over and his prison sentence was done, he recognized that everything is for the good. And therefore, we are here on Passover, wherever you're located, and we celebrate Passover with joy, and we thank God that we're not slaves anymore in Egypt. And may God bless, there should be no more slavery. And now we're ready on Passover night to celebrate the Passover holiday with matzah, with kosher for Passover grape juice, gefilte fish, and horseradish. Horseradish, these are the four main ingredients for a Seder. So it's important to have the Haggadah booklet. And we open up the Haggadah. This is the Maxwell House Haggadah. I'll be sending copies with the video to the Department of Corrections to share with the people, so when they watch the video, they can turn their book to page 4. Page 4, Kiddush. We fill up our cups. Take a cup, fill it up with grape juice, right? Grape juice. And recite the prayer on page 4. If you're watching the video while you're doing the Seder, somebody who's not Jewish, especially if it's Passover, it's better that a non-Jewish person press the buttons, because pressing the buttons is a form of creative work. So we don't do any electronics on Passover. Better somebody not Jewish should press the button. Maybe one of the officers or prison guards can press the pause button. Everybody fill up your cup and recite the entire page on page 4. The blessing for the wine, the blessing for the holiday, and the bottom blessing, Shehecheyanu, which is the renewing us and preserving us and keeping us alive. So to be exact, on page 4, it is section 2, a one-liner for the wine, section 3 for the holiday, and section 5, the Shehecheyanu, for bringing us to this special season. That's on page 4. After you drink the wine, it's important to know that because we are free from slavery, you're supposed to drink the wine, while you are reclining on the left, because reclining is a form of freedom. So you put your left hand on the table and you drink, feel like you're free, men. I hope and pray, truly free with Mashiach. Amen. Okay, you can pause the video and do the Kiddush on page 4. Next part of the Seder is on page 8, the 4 questions. Judaism is a religion of questions. We love asking questions. We love asking questions, especially 4 questions. So as a joke, the joke is that this clergy tells the rabbi, every time I ask you a question, you answer with another question. So the rabbi says, why not? So 4 questions. Why is this night do we eat only matzah, but all other nights we eat bread or matzah? On all other nights we eat all kind of species of green, but this night we eat bitter herbs. All the nights we dip our food once. This night there's a custom to dip our food twice. It's a custom. If you don't do it, it's fine. And the third question is, why at all the nights we can eat and drink sitting or reclining, but this night we recline? The answer is on page 10. On page 10, let's read together on page 10. You got page 10? Before I read page 10, I didn't drink any grape juice, but I'll drink some water. We were slaves to Pharaoh in Egypt, and our God brought us out with a mighty hand and an outstretched arm. And if the Holy One, the Blessed One, has not brought our ancestors out of Egypt, we and our children and our children's children would still be in slavery to Pharaoh in Egypt. Therefore, if we were all wise, knowledgeable, and sagacious, and learned in the law, it nevertheless would be incumbent on us to tell of the departure from Egypt. And all those who expand the telling of the story are counted praiseworthy. So you could press pause if you want to continue reading and read all the text in English or in Hebrew. English is perfectly fine. I'm 1,000% sure that God understands English. But if you want to skip, you can skip to a very important paragraph on page 13. On page 13, you pick up your cup of grape juice. So you're supposed to fill your second cup. It's 4 cups of wine or grape juice during the Seder. Fill up your second cup and lift it. The first cup was for the Kiddush. That was on page 4. And now the second cup is used for the recitation of the Haggadah, telling the story of Passover. So on page 13, the bottom paragraph, lift up your cup of wine and say, it is that promise which has been our ancestors' support and ours. For not just one has stood up against us, but in every generation, some have arisen to exterminate us. Yet the most holy and blessed God always saves us. L'chaim, you put the cup back down. Continue reading in Hebrew or in English. You can press pause, or you could continue with me to page 18. The Jews were in Egypt, and Moses came to Pharaoh and said, Pharaoh, let my people go. What did Pharaoh say? No. Okay, you won't let them go? God says, okay, I'll make you let them go. So he brought 10 plagues on the Egyptians. The first plague was blood. The second plague was frogs. The third plague was lice, wild beast, pestilence, boils, hail, locust, darkness, and finally, slaying of the firstborn. And the Egyptians finally said to the Jews, you can go. To remember these 10, Rabbi Yehuda formed initials, 3 words. He made an acronym, the Tzach Adash Biachav, which is an acronym for the 10 Hebrew names of these plagues. Then on page 21, we say to God, thank you, God. You did so much for us. You took us out of Egypt. You inflicted justice on the Egyptians. You executed judgment against their gods. You slaughtered their firstborn. You gave us their wealth. You split the sea so we can walk on dry land. You drowned our oppressors in the ocean. You supplied our necessities in the wilderness with the manna that fell from heaven. You gave us the Sabbath. What a gift. A day of rest. Imagine working 7 days of the week. Working 7 days of the week, you'd be a slave. We Jewish people don't work 7 days of the week. We rest on the Sabbath. Remember, because my grandfather wouldn't give in to the communists, and he wouldn't work on Shabbos, and they put him in jail, he survived. If those who keep the Shabbos will keep them. Then he brought us to Mount Sinai. He gave us the commandments, 10 commandments, and finally he brought us to the land of Israel. If he only would have taken us out of Egypt, it would have been enough. If he only would have given the punishment, it would have been enough. And he kept doing more and more and more. If only he would have done less, we would have been satisfied. It would have been sufficient. How do you say sufficient in Hebrew? Da yenu, da yenu, da yenu, da yenu, da yenu, da yenu. Sing along. Da yenu, da yenu, da yenu, da yenu, da yenu. Okay, you can sing Dayenu if you want more. Press pause and read more pages. I'm going to turn to page 24. 24, you pick up the second cup of grape juice and you recite the bottom paragraph. Actually, let's read the second to the bottom paragraph. Yeah. When Israel went out of Egypt, the house of Jacob from among a people of alien speech, the tribe of Judah became God's sanctuary, and Israel God's dominion. The sea saw and fled. The Jordan turned back. The mountains skipped like rams, the hills like lambs. What ails you? See that you flee, and Jordan that you turn back. And mountains, why do you skip like rams? And hills like lambs? The answer is because of the presence of the eternal Almighty God. I, the earth, quiver in the presence of God of Jacob, who converts rock into a watery pool, flint into a fountain of water. So blessed are you, our God, King of the universe, who has redeemed us and our ancestors from Egypt and brought us to the enjoyment of this night, to eat matzah and bitter herbs. You, our God and God of our ancestors, may you bring us to enjoy in peace other solemn feasts and sacred seasons which move toward us, that we may be glad in the building of your city and you rejoice in your holy service, that we may eat in Jerusalem of the sacrifices of the holy paschal offering, whose blood will be sprinkled on the side of your altar for your acceptance. Then we will give thanks to you with a new song for our deliverance and for the redemption of our soul. Blessed are you, eternal Redeemer of Israel. Baruch atah. Say the blessing in Hebrew if you can. Blessed are you, Lord, King of the universe, who created the fruit of the vine. Don't forget to drink it while reclining on the left. Borei Pri Hagafen. Remember, put grape juice, not water. This is only a prep for the Seder. I want to keep the grape juice for the Seder. So I'm not going to open it here. It's not perfectly clean for Passover yet. You know, on Passover, you have to clean. You have to get rid of all your ego. You have to get rid of all your inflation and your, your self-indulgence and dedicate yourself to God. In physical, that represents all the leaven, the bread, the macaroni, the whiskey, the hard liquor made from grain, the beer, anything that has grain that wasn't made like matzah, unleavened, is not to be in our presence on Passover. We either eat it up, throw it out, give it to a non-Jewish person, sell it to a non-Jewish person if you want. If you own a bottle of whiskey, you can sell it for $5, $10. Or you can ask the rabbi to sell it for you. Every Passover, I sell the communities, if you give me permission, I can sell your chametz, your leaven, to a non-Jew, and then you're allowed to keep it in your house, locked away in a closet. And after Passover, I go back and I buy it back. It's a non-Jewish person, does us a favor. He's nice to us. He's not looking to get our whiskey, but he wants to help us comply with the law. So I sell it to him, put it away in the closet. Doesn't belong to me. After Passover, I buy it back. So on page 26, you're supposed to wash your hands. If you can, you go to a sink, you take a cup, and you pour the water on your hand. 3 cups on your right hand, 3 cups on your left hand, and then you recite the blessings. There are 3 blessings. Blessing for washing your hands, blessing for eating the matzah, because it's bread from the earth, and blessings for the commandment that God commanded us to eat matzah. We eat 1 ounce of matzah plain. You could drink water, but the matzah has to be plain. You don't put anything on the matzah. 1 ounce minimum. If you want to eat more than 1 ounce, it's only a minimum. It's not a maximum. And you eat the matzah. And when you're done eating the matzah, you can go to the next step. The next step is eating the bitter herbs. Take some bitter herbs on your plate. Recite the blessing. Thank you, God, for giving us the mitzvah to eat bitter herbs. You should also say the blessing for eating fruit of the ground, vegetables. Blessed are you, Lord our God. Say it together. Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who created the fruit and vegetables from the ground. Then you say, blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who commanded us and sanctified us with his commandments and commanded us to eat maror, bitter herbs, on Passover. After you eat an ounce of bitter herbs, then there's a custom. It's only a custom, but if you can, you should do it. On page 29, take bitter herbs, put it on the matzah, and make a sandwich. Then you should eat something tasty, something enjoyable, in honor of the holiday. So, I hope you have some gefilte fish. Everybody has some gefilte fish. You can press pause on the video while you eat the gefilte fish. Some people also eat a hard-boiled egg. If you have that, that would be nice. After you're done eating, it's time to go to the next step, and that is grace after the meal. For grace after the meal, when you're ready, you can go on to the next step to fill up your cup with a third cup of grape juice or wine, and you recite the blessing. The main blessing of the grace after meals is the very bottom of page 28. Blessed are you, O eternal King of the universe, who feeds the whole earth with your goodness and with grace, kindness, and mercy, gives food to every creature out of enduring eternal mercy, and as divine abundant goodness has never been missing for us. So may we never, ever lack food for the sake of God's great name, because this is the God who feeds and sustains us and deals kindly with us, with all, and provides food for all the creatures of God's creations. Blessed are you, Lord our God, eternal, who gives food for all. You could continue reading. You can press pause and continue reading. If not, that was the main blessing for grace after meals. And then when you're done the grace after meals, you drink the third cup of wine on page 35. Page 35. You drink the cup while reclining on the left. Baruch atah. Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who created the fruit of the vine. You know what the most famous Jewish wine is? The most famous Jewish wine is, Oi, I'd rather be in Florida. Just a joke. Okay, the last part of the Seder is to fill up your cups again for a fourth cup. Fourth cup is 4 cups of wine. And we recite Hallel, the chapters of Psalms, praising God for everything he does for us. It's called a section of praise. And there's one little verse here which is nice on page 38, top of the page. You have your fourth cup of wine or grape juice. All nations praise the eternal. Praise God, all states, because divine mercy prevails over us, and the truth of the eternal endures forever. Hallelujah. So you can recite more. Press pause on the video, maybe for 5 minutes, read it quietly to yourselves, and then when you're done reading the section about praise, you go to the end, page 45, pick up your cups, and recite the middle paragraph. Praised be your name forever. Lord our God, King of the universe, our great and holy God and monarch in heaven and on earth, because to you, eternal, our God, and the God of our ancestors, belong song and praise, hymn and psalm, strength and dominion, victory, greatness, power, adoration, glory, majesty, sanctity, majesty, praise, and thanks from this time till eternity. Blessed are you, eternal, almighty monarch, glorified with praises, worthy of great thanks, God of wonderful deeds, who delights in song of praise. Blessed are you, Lord, almighty and eternal. And recite the blessing for wine. Baruch atah. Borei Pri Hagafen. Recite in Hebrew or in English. Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, creator, the fruit of the vine. And then we recline to the left and enjoy. Then there's one more blessing in the bottom of 45, thanking God for grape juice, because we already made the grace after the meal. So now we need to say one more after blessing for the grape juice and wine that we just drank. Why do we drink 4 cups of wine? Mainly because it's 4 sections. So you have 1 cup for every reading, 1 cup for the Kiddush, 1 cup for telling the story of Passover, and 1 cup for the grace after the meals, and 1 cup for the praising God at the end. But in the Torah, when God took the Jews out of Egypt, God said 4 expressions of freedom: V'hitzesi, v'hitzalti, v'ga'alti, v'lakachti. I'll take you out, I will save you, I will redeem you, and I will take you. And those 4 expressions are represented in each cup of grape juice or wine that we drink. But there's a custom to put a 5th cup, called the cup of Elijah. Open our doors. Say to God, it's time for redemption. We've had enough trouble. We've had enough difficulty. Humanity already has been doing good deeds and making the world a better place thousands of years. Thousands of years. Maimonides explained, the world does not need to be perfect for the Messiah, the Mashiach, to come. Maimonides said that you have a scale, and there's a good side and a bad side. Every time we do a good deed, it goes on this side, on the right side, sorry. Every time we do a bad deed or a selfish deed, it goes on the other side. Every time we're not selfish and we do something good for you or for our neighbor, it gives weight to the good side. There's been so many good deeds in just the past few weeks. There's been so many helping each other. There's been so many doctors and nurses in the hospitals. Everybody's doing their Seder at home alone. The scale is tipped to the good side. There is more goodness in the world than evil. Look at the world now. Everybody's in lockdown. Nobody's fighting. Nobody's jealous. Nobody's in business competing with each other. Everybody's home worried about each other. Everybody's caring for each other. Look at the government. The government gave a stimulus bill, $2 trillion. Never happened in history. When did it happen in history? At the entire world was all in the same predicament at the same time. So much goodness going on right now. Guaranteed, the scale is weighing to the good side. Bring about the redemption. Amen. We need Mashiach now. So therefore, we end the Seder on page 46 with the words, next year, may we celebrate Passover in Israel, in Jerusalem, together, not on a video. Amen. L'chaim to that. L'chaim to peace on earth. God bless America. Give us the strength to help each other and not be in despair. Have faith in God. Have trust in God. And the Mashiach will come right now. Amen. Next year in Jerusalem, ready? L'shana haba b'Yerushalayim. Next year in Jerusalem. L'shana haba b'Yerushalayim. Next year in Jerusalem. Those who know my Seder from last year, I like that. I like to dance, right? Ready to dance? L'shana haba b'Yerushalayim. Next year in Jerusalem, L'shana haba b'Yerushalayim. Next year in Jerusalem. Now, you know, on a dollar bill, it says in God we trust, right? You know why it says in God we trust on a dollar bill? The joke is, it says in God we trust because everybody else pays cash. That's a joke. But truly, what does it mean to trust God? What does it mean to trust God? The answer is, imagine a guy, talented guy, tightrope walker. He's able to walk a tightrope. And he puts a tightrope across Niagara Falls. And he walks across. Everybody's watching, clapping. Oh, he's so great. Look at him go. After he goes across, he says to the people, I can go across, not myself. I'm going to put a wheelbarrow on the tightrope, and I'm going to try to walk across the tightrope with a wheelbarrow. Who believes I can do it? Everybody's shouting, yeah, you can do it. I believe you can do it. You can do it. So he looks at one guy, screaming a lot at the top of his lungs, I believe you can do it. He says, you believe I can do it? Great, get into the wheelbarrow. So when you say, I believe, that's like a spectator. Yeah, I believe you can do it. When you trust, that means getting into the wheelbarrow. When it says in God we trust, it means we have to completely put ourselves in God's hands. And God says, do your part, and I will do the rest. And if you do your part, God will do his part. God, you promised us that Mashiach is going to come. We demand now. Amen. L'chaim. I hope you enjoy doing your Seder with me. And hope you're all well. God bless you and protect you from any harm. You and your friends and family should have good health. Amen.